Fast Forward Productions. The women are speaking.
Instead of setting a goal to run a marathon, you make it your objective to become a better runner. You can do those things forever. You can try your entire life to be a better runner. I can try, no matter what stage of athletics and competition I'm in, to be a better weightlifter. And what that looks like, it can change, but the objective is the same. When I'm 80 years old and I'm snatching 75 pounds and I'm stoked, my objective will be the same, and it's to be a better weightlifter. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. This is Meredith.
This is Alex.
Oh, you're doing the intro too?
Yeah, I figured I'd join in since I haven't really been on the intros for a while.
Oh man, thank you.
You're welcome.
I sometimes feel very alone, like you don't care about the intro.
I really do, but you do such a good job.
Thanks.
So I'm like, you know what? Let her have it.
Oh man, thank you.
Except for today.
Yeah, you throw me off. I had a script going and now I'm gonna sort of ad-lib it. But today's episode is about
goals, timelines, results, fallacy. Meredith coined that term.
I did. It actually is goals, results, timeline fallacy.
Okay.
But
so if you're somebody who sets goals with timelines and results,
stop it.
And you feel like you're failing or you're frustrated, we have the solution for you today.
Yeah, I mean, this whole episode is kind of about how goals can create frustration. And for a lot of people, I think are the main source of frustration because they create expectation. And expectations aren't good. They make you sad. And if you sometimes feel sad when you set goals, this one is for you.
Yeah, you heard it here first, people. Goals are ruining your progress.
Those are strong words. Those are strong words.
Listen in.
All right, let's do it. Been that kind of day. I'm just kidding. It's a non-alcoholic.
I feel like even though it's a non-alcoholic,
right?
I feel like you shouldn't have it until you would normally drink a beer.
Really?
Yeah, that's how I treat non-alcoholic beers. Non-alcoholic beverages. It's like you still drink them at the time you would normally have an alcoholic beverage.
Well, okay. So it's 4:40
But we're
PM.
doing work, and you're just going to open a non-alcoholic beer?
I guess technically it's 0.5% alcohol by volume, but that rounds down. Yeah, I mean, that's what I can do because I'm the boss.
All right. I mean, I think that's highly irresponsible, but to each their own. I'm drinking electrolytes.
Oh.
So if my performance is outstanding compared to yours on this podcast today, we'll know why.
Just like so much more mental clarity.
Yeah.
Sharpness.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see. We will see, won't we?
Yeah. Challenge accepted.
Okay.
It is hard not to compare myself to you.
Oh.
Like the other day when I'm in the gym, I still work out. I train hard to keep my strength up.
I love that you say I still work out as if people might think that you quit working out.
Well, no, because I'm running a lot and I talk about running a lot, but I still train in the gym 5 sessions a week.
Yeah.
But my strength is, number one, has never been as high as yours, as good as yours. And number two, I'm clinging onto it for dear life at this point. Because despite what I will argue for most people, particularly my clients, like you can run and get better at cardio while maintaining and also increasing your strength. There's a limit though. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of hitting that limit where it's just like not as much time to do strength and then not as much ability to adapt to the stimulus because I'm running.
Yeah.
So anyways, I try not to compare myself in the strength part of our relationship because, I mean, it's just better for my ego.
Yeah.
For example, why don't you share with the group what you did yesterday? As a retired CrossFit athlete who works out a third of the amount that you used to, honestly, at some points, I think it might be like 25% the amount that you used to work out when you were at your peak volume, which also wasn't healthy because you were injured.
Yeah.
For that reason, I think.
I mean, I definitely at one time was training too much. And not even too much, just like not appropriate combinations or like formats.
Yeah.
I was pretty resilient though, until I wasn't. And that's how that goes. But anyways, yeah, yesterday, are you at my 190-pound snatch?
Yeah, I mean, it's really something every day. Sometimes I see you putting 2 45-pound plates on the bar for front squats, and I'm like, cool.
Alrighty. Yep.
I sometimes use all the 45-pound plates for deficit handstand push-ups. So
Yeah.
that's similar.
Yep.
Or, your back squats, your snatch, your clean and jerk, or I don't know, pretty much anything with the barbell. But your 190-pound snatch was not only impressive because it's a lot of weight for you, for anyone really, but because you're not competing.
Yeah.
And your focus is not on CrossFit at the moment or lifting, really.
Riding
you just
bikes.
do it because you like it and it makes you feel good and it's part of like your routine, but you're also riding bikes. You have a bike race coming up. I think that's extra cool. It almost makes the 190 seem even like better.
Yeah. I mean, so the session was essentially like work up to a tough single snatch for the day. Like that's how it was written. And I've been doing a lot of snatching. So I kind of thought there was maybe a day coming where I would have a tough single, whether, hang snatch or from the floor or a complex or a double or something. I had a feeling that was coming. And so that's how it was written. And my legs haven't been feeling super fresh. Like there's just kind of baseline fatigue. And so what I did was I set up the camera to record a YouTube, just like I wanted to record what my snatch session looked like, basically like from cold to completion to put on YouTube and share with the fitness community. Because a lot of our people are newer to Olympic weightlifting. And I think it helps to see how someone who's a little more experienced works through a session like that. So I did that. And I wasn't going in it with any expectation that I would hit, a monstrous lift. I was thinking like,
if I do say so myself.
Yeah. I mean, 190 is pretty monstrous.
Yeah.
Say.
If you do say so yourself.
Yeah. I'll say it again. It's a big lift. So
my brain can't even comprehend. I've never even attempted a 190-pound snatch. I can't even comprehend at this point. I mean, deadlifting 190 is like significant for me.
I mean, I'll talk about what it felt like, but I went through my usual warm up and just started sort of hitting lifts. I always start at 85. I usually go 85, 105, 125, and then I start going up by 10 pounds. And that's the jumps that I make. And usually if I get up towards like 170, 175, I start making 5-pound jumps.
See, I think I see where my problem lies.
Oh,
I take too many small jumps and then I get too tired.
Yeah, that's it.
Because I do like 185, 95, 105, 115, 125.
No. Yeah. I mean, most of the time. So if I'm doing like.
So you're saying I should just do bigger jumps and I'll probably get to 190.
Yeah. It's honestly rare. I don't even do 105. I usually go empty barbell, 85, 125. Like that's how I get to working weight on snatch. I don't even do 105 most of the time. I just happened to do it yesterday. I think because I was recording it and I didn't necessarily want to like encourage people to make that jump because it's a little.
To make a 40-pound jump?
Yeah. It's kind of an aggressive jump, especially like given that it's your second or third rep. So I was just working up and, when I got to 165, I was like, this is actually feeling like a pretty good snatch day, like above average, I would say. And so, I did 175 and I was like, okay, be cool about that. The 175 was really quite easy. And then I jumped to 185. I didn't do 180. So I made a 10-pound jump, which is like a bigger jump than I would normally make. 185 is a weight that I've hit like more than a handful of times. It's not an everyday weight for me, but it's not something that I've probably hit it maybe 10 or 12 times in my career. I love how I say like more than a handful. That's a small number. That's still very small. I can remember when I hit 185. So I hit that. And then I was like, shit. Because it felt okay. Like it was heavy, but it was not like, it wasn't a max. And so I put 190 on and then went back to my playlist and the song that was playing for 185, I restarted it because I get weird about things. I was like, hey, that was a good song for 185. I need the same song to be playing for 190.
Were you also wearing that old bra that you don't wash, your special snatch bra that you've had for 5 years and never washed?
Alex, of course I was. No, I don't.
And those old socks that have like 16 holes in them and you still wear those every snatch day and you never wash them.
The leggings I haven't washed since.
And the thong that you also have never washed.
Gross. I don't wear thongs with leggings anymore. Yeah. So I put 190 on the bar and then essentially what it became for me was like doing these like mental games to convince myself that it wasn't 190. I had myself convinced it was still 185, properly convinced it was 185.
That's impressive in itself.
Because with snatch, especially a heavy snatch, if you for a second visualize yourself missing, you're going to miss 100% of the time. You're not going to make that lift. And at 190, you're very likely to injure yourself badly. So
Like
it's
if you're not strong in the catch, an elbow.
Yeah, you can
Or-
blow out an elbow. You can drop it on your head. Like the body does a good job normally getting out of the way, but there's a limit. Like when
Yeah.
you have exhausted yourself completely to get the bar over your head, there's just not as much left to get away from it. And you have to respect that is the case.
Okay. Words of warning by Meredith Root.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's my rule. If I'm not 99% sure I can make the lift, I don't even touch it. Just pass. I'll do a clean. Like I'll try a clean and jerk for sure, but not a snatch.
Yeah. Precise.
Yeah. It's 185, it's 185, it's 185, it's 185.
And you
over
just
over
hit
again.
185. So
Yeah, and
why
I knew
wouldn't
I
you be
could
able to do it again?
Exactly. That's why it's the mental exercise.
Mhm.
So I walked up to hit my second 185 for the day. That was actually 190, but in my head, 185.
Yep.
I literally, on camera, you can probably see me say 185. You can see me say it when I step up to the bar. It's wild.
So did you get it? Did you get 190?
I got 190. Yeah, I hit it. And I mean, it's such a mental game with snatching, especially because it felt so insanely heavy off the ground.
Always does.
And it's just like, you have to commit to it. You have to know that's going to happen, prepare for it. And then, yeah, I got it. My overhead's feeling really good. And then I stood there with it over my head for a second. And the reason is like, it's the third time I've ever hit 190 ever. It ties my best ever. My PR is 190. I hit it for the third time ever in my career. And like, I don't know if I'll ever have it over my head again. So I just wanted to stand there and hold it for a second.
But maybe you'll get 195.
Maybe. I've had 195 over my head before. I just haven't made the lift.
Like stood it up.
And I wasn't going to try yesterday
Mhm.
because 190 felt like that's where I
Yeah.
should stop. Yeah. I don't know. It's like, you know, you can sit here and be like, why is she talking about a lift? I hit 190 the first time in 2017, in like February 2017. So essentially like 7 years ago, over 7 years ago. And I hit it the second time either later that year. No, it was later that year. So I hit it twice in 2017 and I haven't hit it again since. I've tried, I've had 195. I've made the 185, 195 jump a couple times. I haven't hit 190 since 2017. And, you know, there's of course parts of me where, you know, I look back and I'm like, I'm not the athlete that I was. I'm not in peak shape. I couldn't go compete at the CrossFit Games right now. There are a lot of things that I miss about being in that kind of shape. There are a lot of things that I don't miss about being in that kind of shape. But I don't lament. Like, I don't look back with like, oh, I just wish I could be as good as I once was, you know, because I'm also really happy. I'm riding bikes. I'm doing things I love. But if I lamented, if I lived into that, like, well, I'm just not the athlete that I was, I wouldn't have put 190 on the bar. Like, that's just a limiting mindset to be in. Like, you know, maybe I can't snatch volume at 175 anymore. I don't know, maybe I can. But 0% of me was expecting to hit 190 that day.
Could you do Isabel Unbroken? 30 snatches at 95 pounds. Right now.
Probably, but then I would need to go into a coma.
That would be a sight to see.
That would be
Next
awful.
challenge.
My feet would cramp
Yeah.
up. It would be so
You're not
bad.
conditioned for that right now.
No.
You'd probably get rhabdo in your
Biceps and
yeah.
back.
Not to say you're not in good shape, but you're not. It's different. Different
Different
types of shapes.
Yeah. So no, it's like, it's a meaningful. It's like a solar eclipse.
Mhm.
Like, I was in such a different part of my life the last time it happened. Except like 190 pound snatches don't just happen. It's not, you don't just like wait around for the next one to happen. Like, there's still a lot of work, and I've been putting in a lot of work, and I maintain that some level of fitness that allows me to do that. It's a very specific type. And still, like, the stars have to align on the day for that.
Yeah. So to clarify, and this will transition us into our podcast topic, you didn't set a goal to hit 190 again.
No.
You just did it.
Yeah.
Huh.
It helps that I really like Olympic weightlifting.
Yeah, it does. And I think that probably means like you should set your goals around things that you enjoy.
Yes.
It's helpful
Very.
if you want to have success.
Mhm.
It increases your chance of success.
Yeah. And just like that was a great snatch day for me. I could point out a few in the last 6 weeks that have been dog shit. Like, it goes both ways.
I remember when I was training for Chicago, which was my first marathon, I was just transitioning, or was it Boston? Was early in my transition into running, still lifting, still am to this day, but I hit 175 for a snatch.
I remember
like
that.
a month before the marathon.
I remember that. Yeah. That was
And
Boston, actually.
Number one, I was like, first of all, how did I do that? Because I've been running so much. But I think partially is there was just no pressure.
Yeah.
I was just lifting because I love it. It was another training session, and I've always performed better when there isn't that like external pressure.
Yeah.
And I think when you compete in CrossFit, there is that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And those 1 rep maxes or those build to a tough snatch day, they mean something to you. They justify all the work you've been putting in. They're not just going down there and doing your best.
Right.
Because that's never enough with CrossFit. And that's just kind of the way the sport is. You're never going to be the best at anything unless you're, I don't know, I guess at this point,
Laura Horvath. Yeah. And it's, you may have an event where you have a max snatch. And so it's really easy to fall into that mindset of like, you start putting yourself in these competition scenarios in training. So you start sort of like labeling, and putting sort of competition like pressure on training sessions because, what if I end up at this event and they have a max snatch and, I have a bad snatch day? Well, I will tell you, having been in that situation, you just have a bad snatch day on a competition day. That's what happens. And it's the same as runners. Sometimes you have a bad run on race day. Like if you compete enough in anything, you'll see like sometimes that's just the overlap. That's what happens. It happens to the best in the world. Like Eliud Kipchoge in Boston 2023, when he just blew up. Like at the time, the world record holder, just like the guy favored to win, looking like a shell of himself out there. So yeah, I mean, it's part of it. That's where that experience comes in, because you can have that experience and be like, okay, well, that happened, but onward kind of thing. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Do you ever think, wow, it would be cool to meet up and hang with the tactic coaches and community? Does the idea of bagels and shakeout runs and hangouts with me, Alex, Lindsay, and the rest of our crew and community excite you? Maybe even signing up and running a race with your fellow tackies? That's a fun nickname for our community members. I didn't run that by Alex though, so I don't know. Maybe it will stick. Well, then we have just the thing for you. We are doing a spring meetup that corresponds with the Calgary Marathon. It will be May 24th through 26th in Calgary, Alberta, Alex's hometown and my adopted city. We have a full weekend of events scheduled starting on Friday afternoon with a meetup at the Stampede grounds, culminating in the running of the Calgary Marathon, half marathon, 10K, or 5K, or 60K if you're into that kind of thing. And of course, a formal group dinner on Sunday night. We did this for the Philly Marathon, but we are making it bigger and better this time around. You can sign up right from our website, but we'll make sure to drop a link in the show notes of this episode. We hope to see you there. It is going to be really, really fun. So I think that transitions us nicely into the topic for today, which is sort of revisiting a topic of a year that we've covered before, which is goals and how they can actually be problematic and derail you from making real progress towards the things that you want to do. And it's timely because I just recorded a video and posted on, and I totally made this name up. I don't know if it's even any good. I called it the goal result timeline fallacy. I think it's good. I hope that
people are going to be writing about this fallacy and researching this fallacy in years.
Look, like New York Times.
Mark my words.
Just make sure you quote me. All right. And the reason why this is timely, I think, because we're kind of getting into the season of goals. We're in springtime. Like some places in the world don't have snow on the ground still. Not our place, but we're getting there. There's races coming up. There's like trail things that people are doing. People are generally a little more active and more motivated, I guess. There's the whole like summer body push that happens in the spring. Get your summer body in 30 days. Ugh. But anyways, that's the mindset. So it kind of helps to define a goal. And I know you're like, why do you need to define a goal? Everybody knows what a goal is. But like, do you? So
we're breaking it down.
Yeah. The way that we will define it is a goal is very simply a thing that you want to do. That's it. There's sometimes a specific result attached to it. sometimes not. There's sometimes a specific timeline attached to it, sometimes not.
So an example, we'll give 2 examples here. And they're the easiest examples that we've used before. Number 1, and it's the one you used in your post, run a marathon in sub 4 hours. The timeline might be the fall. If you're running Chicago in October, for example, that's a timeline. Another example is the goal, I want to lose weight. The specific result is maybe an actual weight loss goal of 10 pounds, like a goal body weight that you feel like, however you define that.
Yeah.
And then the timeline would be in 3 months, or for some people in a month.
And like, I mean, again, this applies to so many other goals. Like this could be a relationship goal.
Yeah.
I want to get married in the next 3 years.
Yeah.
There's one. Business goal. I want to grow our business to a $5 million a year business next year.
Yeah.
You know, like by themselves, these goals are fine. I want to run a sub 4 hour marathon. Perfect. Like as long as you're okay with the time it requires being fluid. Like there's nothing wrong with saying I want to run a sub 4 hour marathon.
I mean, 4 hours is still pretty quick for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think 4 hours is doable if you commit enough time to it and enough.
You could
like,
call it
someone could
5
say,
hours.
Yeah, 3 or even 2.5. And like some people will never get there in their lifetime, like 2.5, for example. Yeah. But like it's within reason. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the baseline assumption is we're making goals that are like reasonably achievable.
Yeah. Just playing devil's advocate.
Right. Yeah. So reasonably achievable goal, nothing wrong with setting that. The issue is when you bring in the timeline. And I was actually thinking about this in the context of elite athletes. And I don't want to like over rely on elite athletes for examples, but as far as like very specific, measurable, metric based goals, marathon running is a really great example. So is cycling, you know, anything where you're doing kind of a set event that has a measurable and repeatable result. So when you commit to, you know, setting the goal of a result on a timeline. So for an elite marathoner, let's call it a sub 220 marathon, and they want to run a sub 220 at Boston or at Chicago or whatever, one of these big events. And they know that that's going to require great conditions on race day. It's going to require that they don't get injured in training. It's going to require that they take care of their nutrition. And it's also going to require them to still overreach and essentially lay it all out there and see if they're capable of doing it. So you can set a goal like that. But the other thing that you have to be okay with is that you might just fail. You may not even complete the marathon. You might DNF. And that happens all the times in elite athletics, marathon, ultra marathon, bike racing. People just, they fall short of that goal and even like completing it because they fly too close to the sun. And that's also a potential. I would say that most people aren't okay with that result. Like they don't want that experience. If like a bucket list goal is running a marathon, you don't want your experience to be like DNFing and not even finishing it.
But to an elite marathoner, failing is part of the process. It's such a fine line for them to achieve. They're so good. I mean, you're talking about seconds.
Yeah. And we'll talk about this more like later in the episode. But it's also like, and we were saying, you know, they're setting the goal of running under 220 or whatever. That's probably not really their goal. Like they may set it, but like ultimately the overarching goal is to just be the best runner that they can be. That's it. That's the whole thing. And it's like, how do I express that on the day? So it's a different way of sort of thinking about what you're doing. We'll touch on what that looks like later, but important to kind of point out. So let's think about the goal framework. So you have the goal thing kind of at the top of the pyramid, you know, bottom left result, bottom right timeline. Like visually, if you had a marker, the best way to think about goals is you only get to circle 2. You have the thing and you can either circle result or you can circle timeline. And this matters because, you know, a lot of people are operating on timelines for things like races and events, which means you kind of have to let go of an expectation that you have specific results. Doesn't mean that you don't achieve something great. Like that needs to be said. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily settling for a mediocre outcome. It just means that you got to let that go because there's this hard, like, got to do it on September the 14th.
Yeah. The result becomes, I'm going to do my best.
Yeah. So, you know, how do we action goals? When are goals a good thing? I think goals can be a good thing when they inform our process and our approach. And ultimately, that process needs to be the goal. And it can become the goal, especially if you really like what you're doing. Example, Olympic weightlifting for me. I love the process of that. I just want to be the best Olympic weightlifter that I can be in my garage.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it for me. That's the process. What that looks like on the day can be great. It can be 190 pounds, or it can be not so great. I'm accepting of both. But the goal of being the best that I can be is overarching. The goal of a marathon and maybe a time goal, a loose time goal, can be helpful in that it adds structure to training.
Yeah, like if you're somebody who has been running enough to know what your pace average is given the run and duration, then you can maybe say, all right, given that I can run a 10K this quickly, if I train the distance, what could I potentially run a marathon in? A lot of people who've never run before, never run, they'll say, I want to do a sub 4-hour marathon.
Yeah.
Because that's what they've seen. Maybe that's what somebody they follow on Instagram did.
Yeah.
That's absolutely like
and it's like, okay,
it's borderline arbitrary.
Well, especially if you were to ask the question, do you know what pace you have to run sub 4 hours? And they're like, no, do you know? And it's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. It's very confusing.
Yeah. It's like, sometimes it's people who, well, I ran a marathon 6 years ago and I ran it in 4:20. So I just want to run it that fast. And it's like, whoa, are you the same person that you were 6 years ago?
You know what I love? I love when people do trail runs that they've never run before and they have a goal time. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
How did you? Well, I know this girl and she ran it this fast last year, so I just want to beat her time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and it's the same thing with the open.
Yeah.
I want to get 10 rounds on that workout. Have you ever done that workout before? Well, no. But my friend got 10 rounds, so I want to get 10 rounds. Oh, okay. Or 10 rounds just seems like a good amount. It's based on nothing. It is. It's based on nothing. That is the most accurate way of saying it.
Yeah.
It's so uninformed that you setting a goal like that, it's pointless. It's literally pointless.
Yeah.
See, because the thing is, taking the CrossFit example, you get halfway through the workout, you're 5 minutes in of a 10-minute AMRAP, and you've done 4 rounds. So now what? You're in the workout, and now you're having to adjust to a new goal, but also having to talk yourself down from knowing you're not going to achieve the goal.
Yeah.
And maybe Sarah, your friend, got 10 rounds. And so in the workout, you're like, shoot, like Sarah's going to beat me. So you got that going. And instead of being like, I'm just going to do my best and stay in the workout. And maybe if you never had the 10 round goal, you wouldn't have to deal with this in the workout. You would just be in the moment of like, I'm just going to do my best. I'm 4 rounds into a 10-minute workout. Hey, maybe I can do 4 more rounds.
Mm-hmm.
That's incentive for me.
Let's see how this goes.
Mm-hmm. It's an informed goal that you're making within a workout. I've done 4 rounds in half the time. If I really push and hang on,
Yeah.
that would be a reasonable goal because it's informed, even if it's like very short decision-making process that's happening in the moment.
Uh-huh. I mean, okay, I'll tell you a personal story that is like that. In 2017, which you might recall was probably my fittest form that I was in.
It was the year we met.
Yeah.
And that's when my ego really started to go downhill.
I was actually more fit in 2017 than I was in 2018 when I made it to the games. My fitness was just like, it was outrageous. And then I got hurt. So 17.1 was a workout. I think it was like 50, 40, 30, 20, 10 dumbbell snatch and maybe like
Box
15
jump overs.
burpee box jump overs. I can't actually remember what the workout was. But Sam Briggs did the announcement and she did it in like, I don't know, 11 minutes and some change. And I'm watching it and I'm watching her do it. And like, to be honest,
I'm pretty
like,
sure she didn't even switch the barbell in her hand.
the dumbbell.
Or yeah, the dumbbell halfway down.
No, she
If you
put it on
don't do CrossFit, bear with us.
she was switching on the ground. And it's the first time that movement was ever programmed. So no one really knew how to do it. So she's switching on the ground. And I watched her do it. And I would say at that time, my skill set overlapped quite a bit with Sam. In my head, I thought, if Sam can do it, I can do it. I can do that. I can do 11 minutes. And Sam Briggs is like,
At that point, she was one of the best.
yeah,
Still,
especially from a
she still
baseline,
is. Yeah.
like lightweight, body weight kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Anyways, I did not do that. My back exploded.
Yeah.
I think I was over 2 minutes off of her time. And I was like legitimately so confused. I was like, I don't understand. But like, it's because I just had this ridiculous goal and expectation based on absolutely nothing.
Well, it was based on the fact you thought you were as good as Sam Briggs.
Yeah, that's true. And then
But I think too, we've all done that. If you do CrossFit and you used to watch the open workouts or still do, the initial presentation where they have like the best CrossFit Games athletes doing the workout on the announcement day, I guarantee you anyone who's watched and then done the workout thinks that they're going to do better than they can for this reason. These CrossFit Games athletes make it look insanely easy.
Yeah, it's true.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
So I can't really blame you because Sam Briggs probably did make it look really easy. And you're like, I don't know, it looks easy.
I was like at that, not necessarily at Sam's level, but like at that level at that time. I was like that good.
Even though you had never done dumbbell snatches, you felt like that was a workout in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, because it's just like.
Did that happen like halfway through the workout where you thought, what's happening? Or was it more after you?
It was, I think, towards the end where I was just like looking at the clock and I was like, did someone change it? You know, like it's just not computing. And then in 2020 with the first workout that I quit, the snatch burpee one.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, easy. I'll just blast this. And then I get into it. And yeah, I mean, you just start falling off the pace and it's like, what? And so I just stopped. So I'm like, I'm not going to make that time.
I remember that. I was doing it with you and Jordan and you both quit on me.
Yeah, we did. And honestly, I didn't really want to
quit again. We tried redoing it. And was it you or Jordan quit again?
Jordan quit again. At that point, I was like, I'm done with the open. You know what? Screw that. I didn't want to be doing CrossFit anymore anyways. So I was like, that's actually enough CrossFit for me. Thank you. Goodbye. I'm retired.
That was the workout that wrapped up your career.
Yeah. I actually think I did put up scores for everything, but.
Okay. But we could talk about CrossFit all day long, but that's an example.
Yeah, for sure.
Just go in, unless you have a really, really informed decision. With CrossFit, it's you've done the workout before.
Yeah.
And then you can assess, when did you do it? What are the conditions? What have you been doing for training since then? There's a multitude of factors with CrossFit, as there are with many other goals. And that's the whole thing, why you shouldn't set timelines and also specific results.
Okay. Like business growth.
Okay.
I want to grow the business to 5 million per year.
Yeah.
Fine. But like, if that goal doesn't help you inform how you're going to do that, arbitrary. It's just going to frustrate you because you're not going to get there. I'm not going to get there 5 million a year because I didn't do any of the things that are required. I didn't hire people. I didn't understand what that looks like. I didn't understand what that means for marketing and revenue and all of these things that matter.
I mean, like you could argue that somebody has made it to 1 million per year. They say, okay, I made 1 million this year. So in 5 years with a growth of 100% per year. But again, like based on what? Are you reading business books?
Right.
Are you going to be doing 100% more work next year?
Because that's not like, things don't just compound that.
Do you have a business plan that's for your business that's modeled off another business that's done this exact thing?
Right.
Like people aren't thinking these things through.
Okay. Relationships. You want to get married in 3 years. Can you imagine the person you might settle for?
The pressure of every date.
The other person's going to feel that too.
Honestly, The Bachelorette is a perfect example of this. I want a relationship that I'm going to get married, like that I'm going to fall in love and be with for the rest of my life in, I don't know, how long is The Bachelor? 3 months? In 3 months.
Okay. Well, Love is Blind too.
Yeah.
The most recent season, what's her name?
Finally got you to come around to that.
Yeah. But the guy is basically like, I just want to date you. And she's like, no. Like she wants to get married. And I'm like,
they could have been great together.
You want to date him.
They could have been great together.
I know, but she's like, no, I want to be married.
But she set a timeline.
Exactly.
And he didn't want that timeline.
So you're missing out. Like you're missing out on something that's potentially better because you're like, no, this timeline is more important.
You could have run that 4-hour marathon. You could have gotten married. You could have gotten to 5 million, but you got so frustrated by, and this goes back to one of the other posts that we've done this week, the expectations minus reality. You expected that to happen because of, frankly, being silly, and it didn't. And so now you're frustrated. And like, no one is motivated by frustration. That's just not possible.
It's not human nature. You're going to avoid that, which means you're going to stop doing the thing that is causing you frustration. That's human nature.
I have never once assigned a number to our business. I'll tell you something right here, Meredith and the listeners. I don't even know how many clients we have. I have an idea, ballpark. I don't know how many clients we have.
When we get our P&L statements from the accountant, do you look at them?
What's a P&L statement? How much we make in a year?
Like a profit and loss? It's like,
No,
no?
I don't. All I know is I'm making enough money so that I can buy the things I want to buy. I can keep my cats fed.
Okay.
They can go to the vet and I don't have to worry about their vet bills. And
Don't pay attention to the price of gas?
I just make sure my bank account is going up.
For sure.
And then I put all of my focus on the action of making the business as good as it can be. So responding to the emails in a timely manner,
Yeah.
responding to emails in an appropriate way, responding to my clients, like getting enough sleep so I can show up for work.
I love that you said responding to emails in an appropriate way. Can we just pause? What would be an inappropriate way to
I don't
respond
know.
to an
I mean,
email?
there have been times where I feel distracted by things, and not things like numbers or goals or other things where, you make a mistake on the way they spell their name.
Oh,
Little
you
things
mean
like that make a big
attention
difference.
to detail. Not
So-
like, hey, asshole. Like,
I mean, I've definitely written emails and then had to just put them in my draft.
oh, yeah.
And then usually they don't get sent.
Right.
Usually those are to disgruntled clients.
Yeah.
I just need to say what I want to say, but not actually say it to them just yet.
So goal becomes a bad thing when it distracts from the process it distracts from the actual doing.
Yeah,
Because
like,
it creates so
Does
much.
knowing the number of clients matter? No.
Yeah. Because as soon as you start focusing on that, you stop focusing on the work that actually impacts and underlies and the process of growing a business. It creates.
I'll say this, sorry to interrupt. If, our retention is going down, I see a lot of cancellations, then you look deeper. But again, it's okay. The goal is to stop the retention issue. Let's look at what we can do better to get back on track. It's the same thing as, okay, my times in my runs are regressing. What is going on here?
Right.
We need to look deeper into what might be going on. It could be nutrition, it could be sleep, it could be this, and then we can get back on track.
What about motivation? Like goals and motivation?
Yeah. So the argument is, okay, if I set a goal with a result and a timeline that increases motivation. Example, I want to lose 10 pounds by my wedding in, let's say it's end of April, July, summer wedding.
Hate wedding weight loss.
I want to lose 10 pounds for my wedding in July.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. And you know what? There's some qualifications here. There's some people who need to lose weight for surgeries and things like that. And that's like a little different because it's somewhat health oriented. It's still not ideal, but I want to put that aside and say that that's not, there's certain things that might require. Again, but we try to inform those goals. And a doctor is usually involved.
Often.
So let's go back to this. I want to lose 10 pounds for my wedding in 3 months. Someone might say, like, that's very, very motivating. I have incentive. I imagine myself looking amazing in my dress or my suit. Of course, that's motivating. But what happens when, you get to the end of May and you've only lost 1 pound?
Yeah.
Because May happened to be a bunch of weddings of your friends and you were traveling a lot and you just couldn't focus on this. You couldn't be, as on it as you wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
Then the pressure starts building.
Yeah.
Then you start asking your nutrition coach, like, hey, this isn't working. We need to drop my calories. You start panicking. Maybe you become stressed. And so you start resorting to food. Maybe you cut your calories so low that you can't focus at work and then you get more stressed. Or then you're so hungry after 3 days at an ultra low calorie set point that you binge. Like all of these things start happening. You start getting frustrated and then maybe you straight up just abandon the goal.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, what's the point? Instead of, and again, I don't like this goal to begin with, but let's say I want to look as good as I can, or I want to feel as comfortable as I can in my wedding dress.
Yeah.
Okay. Where can we improve your nutrition? Can you add another day at the gym? Maybe walking more. Let's work on some affirmations.
Yeah.
Self-acceptance practices, things like that. And that get you to you have 3 months, but there's no specific result. It's just, I want to be the best version of myself on my wedding day.
So an aside, but a super relevant aside to that particular type of goal. So let's say that the goal, whether initially or after some panicking somewhere along the line, forces the person and the coach or whoever they're working with to really hone in on the process and things like nutrition habits and sleep habits and stress management and self-affirmation and all these things. That is supported by research from a weight management standpoint. So people who set out to lose weight, if you compare people whose only objective and whose only goal is weight loss to people who don't set a weight loss goal and instead set goals pertaining to habits that are independent of weight loss. And some of those habits do happen to be around self-image, building self-confidence, things like that, but also exercise habits, nutrition habits, basic lifestyle habits. None of those things have anything at all to do with weight loss. Just important to point that out. The group that only focuses on weight loss statistically fails to lose any, like 100% of the time. Well, not 100% of the time, but when looking at the general population in large study sizes, you don't see statistically significant weight loss in that group. When you compare that group to we'll just call them the habits group, people who aren't focused on weight loss, they're setting goals around habits, those people lose weight. Statistically significant amounts of weight. So there's research behind this whole idea of how important the process is. And even if you have that goal initially, you got to let go of it and let the process sort of take your attention and become the goal.
So besides motivation, and this kind of goes back to there's informing the goal, but then there's also informing the process. Mm-hmm. So someone might say, by having an informed goal, so let's say I'm running my longer runs at 6 minutes per kilometer. I think I can do the marathon in sub 4. Okay. So you're going to have to run the marathon a little faster, or you're going to have to run a little long. So that pace goal, that goal is going to inform your training. It's going to inform the paces you want to run in training. It's going to inform the duration of your runs, all of that.
Yeah.
I think that that's important. And it's no different from a business growth goal. It's also not that different from a weight loss goal. Or weight is difficult because weight is just one data point. Like, of course, you've got muscle and fat, and the body comp, it can look different. Yeah. So somebody might weigh the same amount but look different and be in their ideal body.
Yep.
And again, I say like ideal body with quotes. There's so much baggage behind these examples, but it would inform calorie intake.
Right.
So again, like, it's not so much how much weight do you want, but it's more like the goal of I want to lean out, or I want to change my body composition. I know how much I'm eating right now. That will inform a rough calorie set point to progress you towards that goal.
And even when you have the back of the napkin math, mm-hmm. as far as calorie intake and what the deficit is and what that should look like from a like pounds per week standpoint, you still have to resist going there.
Yeah.
Because it's not always how it works out, because the human body is incredibly complex.
Yeah.
The example that has been brought up a few times when we've talked about this is like, well, what about college? What about university? Like, people achieve specific things with specific results on a timeline all the time. How would anyone ever get a college degree? Well, there's a few things. Number one, not everyone gets a university degree in 4 years, because not everyone has the resources to do that. Maybe they can't afford tuition. Maybe they have to work, so they can't take a full course load. Number two, there's financial incentive. So anytime you attach, like, okay, you can do that, it's going to cost you money. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have to keep paying until you're done. That's a huge incentive. And that kind of thing really, it stops after university or after you're done school, because then you're making money. Like, you don't have to pay money to make money, but university you do, or someone does. So there's that incentive. And then number three, the process is laid out. You don't have to think about the process. It's right there. It's all you have to do is this for 4 years. Take some tests, study, don't drink yourself to death, and you'll walk away with a degree.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
I will say, you could attach a result to a university degree with your grade point average.
Sure.
So if I say I want to graduate with 4.0, you potentially might have to take some classes over. Yeah. Which might delay the timeline.
For sure. But let's focus on...
Or you could just fail and get a 3.5 or whatever.
The thing is the degree.
Yeah.
You could spin off different goals in that. Compare a university degree to a PhD. Someone who goes to, like, I'm going to do a thesis-based PhD. Oh, you think you're going to do that in 3 or 4 years?
Let me call up my 35-year-old friends who are still getting their PhDs.
Still getting PhDs. Like, that's...
Which I'm like, damn, good for you.
How much sunk cost is
Two
there?
of my friends just got their PhDs this
year. I know.
I'm like, sorry, how old are you? Wow.
Yeah, I've been at it for a minute. But that's the thing. The process isn't laid out. In fact, like, many PhDs, it's like, dude, this is on you. You figure it out. Yeah. What are you writing? What's your research on?
Yeah.
And by the way, it has to be novel.
Yeah.
Like, don't do some shit people have done before. I don't want to see that. And so, yeah, you see people take 6, 7, 8 years to get PhDs, which is fine, by the way.
Honestly, we're sitting here with respect.
Yeah. But that's an example. Like, if you want to talk about degrees and about education, like, even compare a medical degree to a PhD. I mean, med school's hard. Don't get me wrong. Law school as well. Kudos. Process is laid out. It's like, okay, so you're going to do 2 years of med school. Then you have like, maybe if you're doing a PhD along with it, it gets complicated, but like it's this. Here's your residency. Okay, now you're postdoc. There you go. Good job, doc. Med school is so hard. Mad respect to anyone who does that. But
I mean,
it's
I wouldn't go to med school.
Yeah, I like sleep and I like working with people that want to be worked with. The medical system's so hard because you end up with people
side conversation. What kind of doctor would you be?
What kind of doctor would I be? Oh,
I would be a vet.
You can be any doctor?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I would probably be, I don't know, like sports med, like orthopedic surgeon, probably.
I think I would too, actually. If I had to be like a human doctor.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't do well with like emergency situations.
Trauma. You wouldn't.
But I also don't want to be like a family doctor because I don't think my bedside manner is good enough.
You can't.
I'm like almost too shy for that.
And you don't do a good job controlling your face. Our neighbor here in Fernie's a trauma an ER doctor. And
I have a lot of questions for him.
Can you just like tell me about that?
Yeah.
But then also part of me doesn't want to know.
Yeah.
It makes it really real that shit kind of happens to people. I like that sidebar. I downloaded an app that's like all the muscles and bones and tendons in the body and you can like view them in layers.
Oh, cool.
The PT that I see has it. And he was like, you should download this app. Because I guess he thinks I have a high working knowledge of like, because I do. I'm like, it's just I've been injured so many times.
Anytime something happens or you get interested in something, you learn everything you can possibly learn about it.
I do.
It's like when we went to the ski shop and we were buying skis and the guy thought you were a really good skier.
Oh, yeah.
Because of how much knowledge you had about skis.
I know, but it doesn't stop at skis and bikes. It's like, I want to know everything that there is to know about
my shoulder injury.
Shoulders.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know all of these muscles. And did you know that the shoulder is attached with soft tissue only to your collarbone? Like, it's amazing. Anyways, that's why it gets injured so often. So, yeah, I mean, the question, is it even worth setting goals? Like, I read this article on this idea when we were kind of researching this podcast, and I like this. It's like, what if instead of goals, we had objectives without limitations? And their take was each goal has an end, which means that goals by their nature are limiting because they have an endpoint. And there's this quote, and the quote is, reaching a goal is a penalty you receive for setting one. And I was like, damn, dude, that's a great quote.
I think there are stepping stones.
Yeah.
But the overarching goal is not a result.
Yeah. The way that they explain objectives. So like, back to the business example that you were talking about, all of those things. Instead of setting a goal to build a $5 million business, you set an objective to grow your business. Think about, what does that mean? I want to grow my business. That immediately, it puts your focus on, you start asking the question of, what do I need to do to grow my business? It's inherently process focused. Instead of setting a goal to run a marathon, you make it your objective to become a better runner. You can do those things forever. You can try your entire life to be a better runner. You can try your entire career to grow your business. I can try, no matter what stage of athletics and competition I'm in, to be a better weightlifter. And what that looks like, it can change, but the objective is the same. When I'm 80 years old and I'm snatching 75 pounds and I'm stoked, my objective will be the same. And it's to be a better weightlifter.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that helps. Now that you bring in the subject of like aging, that's part of it. Is it's not even being better. It's not even constant improvement. It's just being as good as you can on the day, doing whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Just not even having an expectation, because you're probably going to get worse at most things unless it's a crossword puzzle. Even golf.
Yeah.
I mean, my grandpa's 93 and he complains about, not being able to hit the ball as far, but he would probably enjoy golf a lot more. And I think he does to a degree. He's just, old, but he probably would enjoy golf a lot more if he could just go out there and do his best on the day, which he does.
Yeah.
But just not compare. Then that's a whole other thing. Like, don't compare yourself to previous versions of yourself.
I mean, like,
even if that version was worse, I've gotten a lot better. That's great. But that's still a comparison. I did really well today. I worked really hard. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, an objective is very simply energy aimed in a direction.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And it never changes. And like, you can, sure.
Maybe the objective is to get worse slower.
That's what
that's going to be my objective for a lot of things.
With fitness.
At some point in time.
Some point it switches.
Yeah.
And so what you're working hard for is no longer to get better. It's to get worse as slow as possible.
Sometimes clients say that. They'll be older, maybe 50s or 60s, and they say, I feel like I'm just hanging on to what I have.
Hell yeah, you are.
Part of me is like, well, yeah, that's kind of what it is.
Keep hanging on. Don't let go.
It's worth it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, just ask your mom.
Yeah.
She'll tell you. Can she put her arm straight over her head? No, but like 100% worth it.
Yeah.
Because that shit matters. Like, you know, and I think about the injury thing a lot because that comes up for people. They don't want to get injured, which I understand. I get injured a lot. It's not even a lot. I'm constantly injured. I have been injured and I deal with little things. That comes with the territory of pushing your body beyond like normal. I'm not normal. You're not normal. But you don't have to do what we do. Even still, there's a risk of injury. I would rather get injured when I'm younger while I'm building the machine. I would rather it be a byproduct of being a badass and making sure that I can be a kick-ass 80-year-old than to be like, oh, I don't want to get injured and avoid developing and building the machine and then have to deal with injury when I'm 80.
Be falling down earlier in your life, not living as, how does Peter Attia put it, as long as possible, as
young as possible.
Yeah.
Objective is the same. I like this. They gave this example too. So the guitar player in Metallica, Kirk Hammett, he has said he's never had the goal to be a rock star, never had the goal to be in the Hall of Fame. He just said he wanted to play his guitar better. That was it. He's on record that I just want to be a better guitar player. And again, he can do that forever. And he has. And that's why he's so good. It's because like that was always the objective. It was never like, I just want to be like the best guitar player. I just want to win all the things. So it's, yeah, I mean,
those goals just, they're not actionable.
No.
They're not actionable for a lot of people.
I would be willing to bet you. And I don't know if there's someone who's collected this information. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll write a book. But if you were to talk to people who have achieved like success, and I'm thinking about Brandi Carlile because I just think about Brandi Carlile all the time. I know you do too. And I know a lot of people.
She comes up on my Instagram feed a lot, okay?
Yeah. I know a lot of people listening to this podcast probably also spend a lot of time.
Or the people are like rolling their eyes like, oh, these two are at it again.
Oh, God. Just like enough already. She's been at it for a long time, like early 2000s. I know this because I was listening to her in the early 2000s.
The story just turned 17.
Yeah. She's at this moment in time achieving a lot of success. She has a lot of accolades. She's getting a lot of attention. Everyone in the music industry seems to know her and want to collaborate with her.
I'm very jealous. I don't know.
Yeah.
Why do I have to be one of like hundreds of thousands of fangirls?
Let's talk about that in just a second. Table that because it's funny.
Okay.
But yeah, if you were to ask her, like, was it your goal to be friends with Elton John? Was it your goal to...
I think that actually was one of her goals.
It was probably a wish that she had, which we can talk about the difference between like, it would be really cool if I could versus like, I want to.
But she also is the type of person to make that a goal without maybe a timeline and achieve it.
Yeah.
Because she is that type. And she talks about that.
Exactly. But she's just, in my head, a great example of what you get when you aim your energy in a direction and you have no expectations other than like, I just want to be the best at doing this thing that I possibly can do.
And I just really love it.
And so I don't know if you watched the 17 years of the story video. Her voice has gotten better. Like between then, her voice was always good. It was good on the original. But to hear her sing down, like she's still working on it. That's what you get.
Well, she did say in Mexico that her voice coach would have been ticked off if she had played the song, but she's going to play it anyway, kind of thing. Like, yeah. I don't really know the job of voice coaches, but any coach is there to help somebody improve, I think. So I imagine she is working quite hard on it.
Yeah. And again, like this is the thing that she cares most about. So it's easy to work really hard on the thing that you care most about, which again is a vote for find the thing that you care most about and work on it. Like that really needs to be a driving factor here. Like if you don't care about something, you're not going to work hard on it. You're not going to put in effort. If you're running a half marathon because all your friends run a half marathon, but you fucking hate running.
Or you just want to see how it is. Although I will say there's value in dabbling in things to see if you like it.
The process of exclusion is an important one. But like figure out what it is you want to do and do that. Mm-hmm. Life is too short to waste your time doing shit you don't like.
Yeah.
The end. Back to what you were saying about being one of many. The sidebar is like, we have had a lot of really great sort of semi-VIP experiences because of what we've done and who we are. And It's hard.
in CrossFit.
Yeah, it's hard to go
it's
back.
like we've been at the games, we've been on the demo team, we know all the people involved. It's like, how do I not know Brandy yet?
Yeah, I'm like, this is like getting ridiculous. Is it getting ridiculous? I feel like it's getting ridiculous.
We are friends with Catherine's friend.
That's true.
So
yeah,
that might be our in.
Laura, hook it up.
I also have a client whose friend works for Brandy.
Yeah.
So
we got two
it's
angles.
close. And I had a client who knew Brandy.
And we'll keep fundraising.
Yeah. So
because it means a lot.
There's no timeline, but there's a goal.
I'm aiming my energy in that direction. It's aimed there. I'm looking at a print on our wall.
So one of my clients, she listens to the podcast, so she'll be like, hey, shout out. But she went to dinner the other night and Brandy was at the restaurant. And my question is like, I don't think she went up and said hi because like, you probably want to respect someone's privacy. It would be really hard for me not to say something or like just be that person. It would be hard.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fangirl. I've never really fangirled over very many people.
The internal conflict would be like outrageous.
Yeah.
I know where we would end up, but there would be turmoil before that happened.
So where would we end up?
At her table, eating dinner with her, obviously. That's, okay. Yeah. I'm just going to pull a chair up. No, I mean, it would be cooler than that. They would invite us. Yeah. I mean, like I said, Brandy actually won a giveaway last year during our challenge. She won a random drawing for a dinner with us.
I've been threatening to send Catherine an email and say, Brandy has actually won our grand prize for the challenge. It's a dinner with us.
A meet and greet.
And see what happens.
In Fernie, all expenses paid.
She will have to fly coach.
But it's a short flight from Seattle. It'd be great. She will have to drive 3 hours though, because there's not an airport. Yeah. So I love that for her. We'll make it happen. Anyways.
So wait, where were we talking about?
Honestly, Alex, I think we were...
wrap up here. Can we wrap up?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we were going to wrap up. And it's very simply, just don't set goals. Set objectives. Figure out where you want to point your energy. Pick things that you can do forever. And if you can't do it forever, then it's not a good goal. Fundamentally. And I know that's like a crazy thing to wrap your head around, but that's how you have to think about it. Which is like, if you want to run a marathon, fine. Your objective is to be a better runner who sometimes runs marathons. Maybe you're going to run one in September. Maybe you're not going to run one for 2 years because you want to make sure that like you've developed the skill and the capacity to do it without getting injured. And I love that for you.
Yeah. Also believe in yourself, but don't set expectations.
Yeah. And like the amazing thing is if you don't set a goal with like a finish line or an end point, not only are you more likely to achieve that goal that you may have like initially set out, but you're probably going to achieve more than you ever imagined was possible to achieve. And I know that sounds really ridiculous and hokey, but it's the truth.
When I ran the 3-hour marathon, people were like, well, what are you going to do now? And I'm like, keep going, get faster. My goal is to go to the half distance for half a year, improve my turnover, and then do the marathon again and see if I can get faster.
I mean, that's my favorite question that we get. Sometimes people will just ask me like, Alex is running a lot. Like, is she training for something? And there was a period of time a couple months ago where I was like, not really. She's just running because she wants to get better. So that when I do
set a time line, which is the next race, I'm that much closer to it. And maybe there is a goal time that I can set because I have an informed way of doing that. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I did for Philly, a little bit for LA. I remember with LA, I had the goal of 3 hours and I was training and I kind of thought, geez, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this based on my training runs. And then I started feeling pressure and it kind of was taking away from the enjoyment. And so I let go of that goal. And then it wasn't until the night before I was like, I'll go for it tomorrow. Probably not the right decision. Turns out I wasn't really ready. But then it was like, okay, I ran this. Then I think I can run Calgary in sub 3:05. And then, you start progressing towards it. And it's like, if Philly is a great day, give her a go. And if I fail, that's just one more stepping stone to getting closer to doing it.
Right.
There's a stepping stone, there's a test, but there's no end date.
And with that objective, being a better runner, that's fundamentally your objective.
Yeah.
You can take that and go so many directions. You can run a marathon. You can run a half. You can try to run a stupid fast 10K. You can hop on a last man standing relay and do some crazy speed race.
And there are going to be days where I'm actually on paper slower.
Yeah.
I have a marathon in May. I could run it slower than I ran my last one. But that doesn't mean I'm not getting better. Yeah. That just means on that day, I wasn't at my best. Maybe it is that I'm getting worse too. But who cares?
If you're still enjoying it, keep doing it. Yeah.
I asked a client the other day who was struggling with her pace and frustration, which is valid. And I said, would you continue to run if you knew you were never going to get faster?
That's a good
And that
question.
was a good question I asked to myself. And I look at my dad, who's 73 and still runs.
Yeah.
He runs. I mean, he has a back injury right now that requires surgery. But even then, with some pain, it's his favorite form of exercise. And if he can do it on a day where he's feeling good, he certainly will. And he is not getting faster.
No.
But he still gets out there because he loves it. He's a 2:30 marathoner.
Yeah.
And I don't know what his pace is. He doesn't even keep his pace anymore.
Yeah.
I think that's something to me.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people struggle with transition. Not even transition with getting older, which is something that we will all deal with, but like parents, moms, people who are active, they work out, they cycle, they run, and then they have a baby or they have a couple of babies. And that is just massively impactful. It changes your body for a little while. It changes your sleep. It changes the amount of energy that you operate with as like at a baseline. Maybe you have a very demanding job on top of having babies and on top of, wanting to continue to run.
You get sick every single week.
It might, exactly. You're sick for half a year.
You're sick 100% of the time.
It's like we're out of the baby phase, but now your kids are in school and they're making you sick all the time. And it's like, for some people, it can take 5 to 7 years after having kids before they feel like they can get their feet back under them and start like making progress again. Like that's just some people's reality, and that's fine. But like the work that you do in between, like, during that time where you're just like, man, I feel like I'm getting worse. I had a horrible run. I didn't sleep. I did this. Like, I don't even know why I'm doing it. Well, the reason why you're doing it is because like one day you're going to come out of that tunnel. You're going to see the light. You're going to get to take a breath. Like the waves are going to stop crashing on your head. And you're going to be in such a better place having that, even if it's a broken baseline, even if every like single run was imperfect, underslept, injured, half sick, like not into it. It all matters.
This
because
is
you're
like
maintaining.
such an acute example that I can speak from experience. But during the really stressful time at work about 6 or 8 weeks ago, Meredith and I had to ask for reduced training volume. And I know that there are some business owners, because I work with them or I've seen them on Instagram, where their fitness really gets put on the back burner, or not even on a burner, actually.
They just
when
take it
things
off
get
the stove.
tough. And I think not even a business owner, any job. But I remember coming out of that week and kind of trying to get back to it the next week in like my normal capacity and thinking back just to that 1 week. And I know it's a very short period of time, and I'm not saying that this is compared at all to having kids, but I remember coming out of this and saying, well, I'm really glad I still got 40K in that week. I'm really glad that I was able to get in some upper body movement and some like lower body strength, because I didn't miss that week completely. 50% was like a big win. And it is, 50% is huge. It's way more than zero.
Yep. So I guess that's how we'll wrap it up.
This is one of my favorite topics.
It is. And this podcast has gone long, and thank you for listening to it. It is a really, really
People are
important
like,
topic.
what? It's over already? I've only been listening for 20 minutes.
We want part 2. We want part 2. It is. And it's such an important mindset to adopt because it's effective, but it's also kind.
Mm-hmm.
It's the kind mindset to adopt. And like, that is where you want to operate from. You can have high standards. You can hold yourself. You can want to achieve great things. You still got to be kind to yourself while you do it. You have to. You have to. Because no one shit talks themselves to the top. They just don't.
No.
Anyways, Alex, God damn it. Thank you.
I'm over here. You're talking. I'm just nodding my head.
Like, she's into it. She's into it. Yeah. That's great. Thank you. Thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate your time.
Anytime.
My favorite co-host. Thank you all for listening today. If you liked this episode, please share it with friends, family, anyone who you think needs to hear it. It is an important topic. It's one of our favorite ones. So it would mean a lot if you put it out into the world, and we'll keep doing what we can to put out good content, good energy, and support you all through what you're doing. And we, of course, appreciate your support as well. We'll catch you on the next one.